Now, the deep state, the D's, they're getting a little nervous because the event that they have operating right now, well, it's starting to lose steam. Now, I know a lot of people are listening to the mainstream media, or some people are hearing this from others, and they continually increase the count of the number of deaths and how many people are getting ill. But we need to understand something very important. This is the deep state, the D's, the mainstream media push right now. They have to push very hard. And without increasing these numbers, without continually reporting it, the whole thing falls apart. And their narrative is falling apart, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. And Q, as we know, has been dark for a number of days here. And it doesn't mean that we're not receiving certain messages. Actually, Kansas sent out a message, and it has to do with Renegade. And we'll be talking about that in just a minute. But first, we understand that there are multiple investigations going on into the Bidens and Ukraine. And we know that Senator Johnson is investigating. We know Ukraine is investigating. We know during the House impeachment, the Senate trial, Trump's team continually mentioned Ukraine, Biden's corruption over and over and over. And we know that Mitt Romney flip-flops. And we've been hearing that Mitt Romney is going to betray the Republicans by not voting for the subpoena, which has to do with Ukraine and the Bidens. He says this is a political stunt. And it seems that Mitt Romney has now had a change of heart. Senator Mitt Romney will vote to authorize a subpoena as part of the Senate Republicans' investigation into the Biden family dealing with Ukrainian energy giant Burisma. Now, he has expressed his concerns to Chairman Johnson, who has confirmed that any interview of the witness would occur in a closed setting without a hearing or public spectacle. He will therefore then vote to let the chairman proceed to obtain the documents that have been offered. The question is, why is Romney so nervous about this? Why didn't he want this going public? Because he's implicated. Let's go back to post 3590. Here it says, what do these people have in common? Pelosi's son, Kerry's son, Romney's son, Biden's son. Hint, geolocation, Ukraine. Hint, energy. Coincidence? This is what he was nervous about, because he didn't want this getting out there. He has a lot to lose. But since this is going to be behind closed doors, he's okay with it because, once again, no one's going to hear what's being said unless they want it out there. Now, again, this is just gathering information to put together a case. This is an investigation. Actually, you don't want all this stuff leaked out. You want it held until they can use it later on, which they will do. Now, if you noticed, there are a lot of individuals getting behind Biden. Remember, he's part of the good old gang, and they believe if they can get enough people to endorse him, they're hoping that they will be safe. Now, we know that James Comey, we know that John Brennan, they have endorsed Biden. Hillary Clinton saying he's a great candidate. We also have now Susan Rice, who's saying that she would endorse Biden. This is what she tweeted out. I'm proud to endorse Joe Biden for president. And these individuals, they believe if they can get Biden in this position, it's going to be okay for them. Now, what's very interesting is that we know from yesterday, because we showed the little clip of Biden, he doesn't know where he is half the time. I do believe that he is going to continue with this because he's going to use it later on. But one thing that I've noticed, and I'm sure you have noticed, and Julian Rum has noticed, is that how many times has the mainstream media been out there saying that Trump should undergo psych evaluations? And with Biden continually messing up, forgetting, getting confused, how many times has the mainstream media said, hey, maybe Biden should get a psych evaluation? I believe it's zero at this point. Do you think they'll ever touch it? No. Not like they have done with Trump. because they need Biden in this position. And we discussed yesterday why they need him in this position, because I personally do not think that Biden would stand a chance with Trump at all. And that brings me to Hillary Clinton. It seems that she has a new documentary out on Hulu, and it seems like she's building the narrative that everything that she's done in the past is A-OK. And that the affair that Bill Clinton had with Monica Lewinsky, that's okay too. They're doing this now because they're building it up so they can enter the race. And I'm talking about Hillary Clinton. Now, in this documentary, she says, I'm the most innocent person in America. And she explains that it was a bad decision to have this server. I shouldn't have done that, and all these other things. And she's saying that I'm innocent and everyone is attacking me. The mainstream media is attacking me. Everyone is attacking me. She is doing this on purpose because she's preparing to run. And this is why I mentioned the Q post yesterday about those individuals that run for the presidential election. They're not going to be safe. And if we go back to post 854, in this post it says, is the stage set for a drop of Hillary Clinton? And then there's a lot of pluses, and it says raw vid 5x5. We have it all. Reread stage, the nail in many coffins, impossible to defend, toxic to those connected. Now, think about this. They're pushing Biden. Hillary Clinton saying how innocent she is, that it was all a big mistake, and Bill Clinton's out there. They are setting the narrative. They're preparing. And this is why I do believe Q has been telling us about the Trump card. This is why I think Trump and the Patriots haven't played the Trump card. Because when do you play it? Well, you play it when it will give you a decisive or winning advantage. You hold it until you need it. Because if you're holding all the cards and you present this, boom, it's game over. And that, I do believe, is what Trump, the Patriots, are waiting for. Now, Trump, we know that he sued the New York Times, the Washington Post, and now Trump is suing CNN. Remember libel laws? The end of the mainstream media. And we're going to see this ramp up. And I don't believe it's going to be in one court. I think this is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, very interestingly, we have a federal judge, and this is federal judge Reggie Walton. He delivered a ruling creating a firestorm narrative fight around the Mueller report. Now, Judge Walton is saying he wants to see the unredacted report so he can make up his own mind on whether legally the Freedom of Information Act materials exist. However, Walton is also going one big step further and actually questioning the credibility of Bill Barr. That's the part where the resistant media is having a field day. Remember, they want Barr out of this. For over a year now, they've been trying to portray Bill Barr as lacking credibility. Remember all those former Department of Justice people? They put together a petition, like 1,100 or 2,000 individuals, saying that Barr should resign. Well, the people, there were 14,500, that said that Bill Barr shouldn't resign, that Bill Barr should bring justice. So who cares what the former Department of Justice want? They're not in power. It's we, the people, that are in power. Now, Undercover Huber tweeted out this. Judge Walton has zero evidence Barr misrepresented anything about Mueller report apart from ravings of collusion hoax media. Astonishing. Also, Mueller's office closely involved in the redactions, but happy for you to set judicial precedent on being skeptical of Department of Justice redactions. Collusion truther on the bench. Amazing. Literally, Walton's position. Mueller found no conspiracy, which is synonymous with collusion between Trump campaign or any American and Russians. Barr said that. That was misleading because Mueller report also said there were links between Trump campaign and Russians. Now, we need to remember that this judge presided over the trial of Scooter Libby. And this was widely viewed as a miscarriage of justice, and Trump pardoned Libby in 2018. We also now have the House, which is asking for a full appeals court to rehear McGahn's case. Now, think about what is happening here. They have this judge out there questioning the Mueller report, wants to see the unredacted information. They also have the House going to the appeals court to rehear McGahn's case. Now, think about why this is happening. Remember the three things during the Senate trial, during the whole impeachment. They needed the testimony from McGahn. They didn't get it. So they're trying, once again, to get it. The judge is out there saying he wants the unredacted information from the Mueller report. What they really want is the grand jury information. Why are they bringing all this up? Because the latest event with this coronavirus is losing steam. They know it. It's just a matter of time. Remember, there was no step 5. So they're trying to replay this once again because they have nothing else. Are they going to succeed? Absolutely not. And what else is very interesting is that Judicial Watch right now is going after Adam Schiff. Judicial Watch, they filed a lawsuit against Schiff. Why? Because they want the controversial subpoenas issued for phone records, including those of Rudy Giuliani. Now, Judicial Watch, they filed the lawsuit under the public common law right of public access to examine government records after it received no response to a December 6, 2019 records request. Now, Judicial Watch, they want all subpoenas issued by the House Permanent Select Committees on Intelligence on or about September 30, 2019 to any telecommunications provider, including but not limited to AT&T, for records of telephone calls of any individuals. They want all responses received to the above referenced subpoenas. The records are of critical public importance as the subpoenas were issued without any lawful basis and violated the rights of numerous private citizens. Disclosure of the requested records would serve the public interest by providing information about the unlawful issuance of the subpoenas. The requested records fall within the scope of the public's rights of access to governmental records as a matter of federal common law. Tom Fitton said the following: Adam Schiff abused his power to secretly subpoena and then publish the private phone records in potential violation of law of innocent Americans. What else is Mr. Schiff hiding? Schiff and his committee ran roughshod over the rule of law in pursuit of the abusive impeachment of Trump. This lawsuit serves as a reminder that Congressman Schiff and Congress are not above the law. And very interestingly, a lot of people think nothing is happening. And Praying Medic explains that there are things happening right now. This is what Praying Medic tweeted out. No one has been arrested. I saw a letter from Peter Strzok's attorney explaining that he was fully cooperating with investigators. Same for Lisa Page and James Baker. You cooperate after signing an admission of guilt. The arrests have already happened. And I agree with him. These individuals, they are cooperating. They had a sign that they were guilty. And remember, we're going after the big targets. Yes, there are going to be smaller targets, but to get the big targets, you have to have the smaller targets turn on them. And this is exactly what is happening. And remember, there's going to be a right time to play the Trump card. Now, very interestingly, with the Flynn case, Technofog decided to update us, and Sidney Powell decided to update us. This is from Technofog. Flynn update on ineffective assistance of counsel claims. The parties have agreed that government may interview Flynn's former lawyers with limitations. Sidney Powell tweeted out breaking. The Flynn team and the government have reached an agreement on the terms for the government to interview Covington Burling, those lawyers under an agreed order which will be filed by the government by noon. If Judge Sullivan approves, this should expedite resolution. Now, think about it. Covington Burling. Who is connected to this? Eric Holder. This is why he was getting very, very angry with Paul Sperry, because Paul Sperry was calling him out on this. And we know that Covington Burling, they had a different agenda. And now we're going to see things come to light. Now, very interestingly, we know there's a lot of pedophilia. We know there's a lot of human trafficking, child pornography. And we see that Attorney General William Barr, he has announced the launch of a voluntary principles to counter online child sexual exploitation and abuse. Let me read a small portion of the announcement here. It says, last summer I traveled to London for the 5-country Ministerial Digital Industrial Roundtable. There, our 5 nations met with senior representatives from Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Roblox, Snapchat, and Twitter. We agreed that a more robust global response to online child sexual abuse was necessary to ensure that all children across the globe are protected, and there is no safe space online for offenders to operate. Further, we committed to developing a set of voluntary principles to ensure online platforms and services have the systems they need to combat online child sexual exploitation. As a result of that meeting and much diligent work since then, today we are collectively launching the 11 voluntary principles. I am happy that our hard work has come to fruition with today's event. And remember, a lot of these human trafficking, child pornography, pedophilia, they lurk on social media. And now the tech companies, they're going to be held responsible. Now, very interestingly, we have been seeing a huge amount of arrests for individuals selling secrets to China and many other things. And a former Obama acting inspector general for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security was indicted on theft of government property and schemed to defraud the United States. So this indictment charges Charles K. Edwards, 59, of Sandy Spring, Maryland, and Murali Yamazula Venkata, 54, of Virginia, with conspiracy to commit theft of government property and to defraud the United States, theft of government property, wire fraud, aggravated identity theft. The indictment also charges Venkata with destruction of records. Now, according to the allegations in the indictment, from October 2014 to April 2017, Edwards, Venkata, and others executed a scheme to defraud the U.S. government by stealing confidential and proprietary software from DHS Office of Inspector General, along with sensitive government database containing personal identifying information of DHS USPS employees so that Edwards' company, Delta Business Solutions, could later sell an enhanced version of DHS OIG software to the Office of Inspector General for the U.S. Department of Agriculture at a profit. Although Edwards had left DHS OIG in December 2013, he continued to leverage his relationship with Venkata and other DHS OIG employees to steal the software and the sensitive government databases. And this was during the Obama administration. Now, very interestingly, down at the border, we know that Trump is pushing his policies, and he had a setback with the appeals court with the Remain in Mexico policy, where the court said, yeah, this can happen, and you can't send these people back to Mexico to wait for a court date or anything like that. But at an appeals court right now have granted a government request to allow the policy to stay temporarily in effect while the Trump administration seeks a review by who? The Supreme Court. And you know what the Supreme Court is going to rule. It's going to rule in Trump's favor. Now, very interestingly, we know that Trump has cut the funding of the sanctuary cities, and it seems that the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they are intensifying its operation in 10 sanctuary cities, deploying approximately 500 special agents to increase surveillance around the homes and workplaces of undocumented immigrants. And it seems that they are going after these individuals now. Now, Trump just signed a huge coronavirus spending bill. And this was for something like $8 billion or so, plus or minus. There's different amounts out there. But this is going to work in Trump's advantage. I said this in the economic report. He's going to use these funds to help certain sectors of the country. Everything the deep state and the D's are trying to do is going to completely backfire on them. And the narrative is already shifting. Yes, I understand the mainstream media. They're going to be pushing this as hard as they possibly can. They need the fear to be off the charts. But very soon, this is going to start to die off. Why, you ask? Well, HHS Assistant Secretary, they came out and said, wait a minute, these numbers the mainstream media is pushing, they're way too high. They don't even make sense. If you look at the death rate for the flu in the United States, it is an average of about 63,730 deaths per year. And if you break this down, and you break down the 63,730, you get about 5,310 per month, 1,225 per week, 174 per day, 7 per hour. So on Thursday, HHS, the Assistant Secretary, decided to tell reporters what the real percentage is, and it's more in line with the flu. He said the best estimates now of the overall mortality rate for COVID-19 is somewhere between 0.1% and 1%. That's lower than you heard probably in many reports. It's not likely in the range of 2 to 3%. Take a listen to what he said.
So our best modeling, again, you have a denominator problem, and I want you to understand that only the people who are really sick or have symptoms come in and get tested. So based on the models we have right now, we estimate the mortality as 0.1 to 1%. It is likely not in the range of 2 to 3%.
Now, this is already destroying the deep state, the D's narrative. And Educating Liberals tweeted this out. Each year, 600,000 Americans die from cancer. 300,000 die from obesity. 250,000 die from medical errors. 120,000 die from Alzheimer's. 55,000 die from the flu. 45,000 commit suicide, and 700,000 babies are aborted. And we need to put all this in perspective. Remember, this is not airborne. It's not spreading through the air. This is by touch. And if you really understand what is happening here, they're taking a cold, a flu, and they're blowing it out of proportion. And if you really think about when Trump said, yeah, I think these numbers are much, much lower. It's a hunch that I'm going on. He knew exactly what they were going to report, and he was right again. And the mainstream media was out there, and they were making fun of him. Oh, it's on a hunch. But look, the actual numbers actually came out, and they're much, much lower than what the mainstream media is reporting. Plus, China may soon lift the quarantine imposed on the province at the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak. This is all starting to reverse itself. Now, does this mean the deep state, the D's are done? No, I still believe they're going to push one more thing. I believe they're going to push the global pandemic angle. And yes, the markets are going to come down. Yes, we're going to see everyone in a panic, the mainstream media actually. But I think when everything is all said and done, Trump, at that point in time, he can remove all this fear. He can remove it with the snap of a finger. Again, when do you play the Trump card? You play it when it's needed to shut it all down, to win. How do you combat a global pandemic? You just come out with the cure and a vaccine. Doesn't mean he's going to vaccinate the world. That's all you need. And the hysteria, with a snap of a finger, disappears. Watch the news. Now, very interestingly, it seems that Kansas, or Secretary Pompeo, decided to give everyone a message today. And this is coming from the Department of State. And it says, at Secretary Pompeo, the United States is not a party to the International Crime Court, and we will take all necessary measures to protect our citizens from this renegade, unlawful, so-called court. So I want to go back to post 3856 here. And this says, and there's an American flag, and it says, Patriot, a person who loves, supports, and defends his or her country and its interests with devotion. A person who regards himself or herself as a defender, especially of individual rights against presumed interference by the federal government. A traitor, a person who betrays another, a cause, or any trust. A person who commits treason by betraying his or her country. Under this, it says the lines are drawn. Define renegade. Now, renegade was not given to Hussein. It was picked by Barack Obama. He wanted to be called renegade as the USSS code name. So what is the definition of a renegade? A person who deserts and betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. Synonyms: traitor, defector, deserter, turncoat, betrayer. Adjective: renegade, having treacherously changed allegiance. So Mike Pompeo, or Kansas, tweeted this out. And under this, in this post that I was just reading, it says, non-standard definition, think depopulation, the silent war continues. Then in post 855, and this is very interesting. This tweet is on March 6th, and this post was made March 6, 2018, 2-year delta. And it says, what if Hussein knew and authorized? Renegade. So Kansas sent us a message that Renegade is going to pay the price. Now, what's very interesting, the couple reports back, I mentioned the 16-year plan. And everyone is concerned about, oh, there's no arrests, there's nothing going on. Think about the 16-year plan for a sec. Why didn't they just implement it within 1 year? Why did it take 16 years? Why didn't they just go ahead and do it? Because they had to put certain people into place, and it was going to take 16 years to do it. Why haven't there been arrests yet? Well, one, we understand that they're going to use the Trump card when they absolutely need it at the right time. But think about this. Obama had the first 8 years to put all the players in place. Yes, there were others being put into place, but remember, this is a 16-year plan. 8 years with Obama putting everything in place, and then we had the other 8 years putting more people into place, bringing us to war. Trump has been in office for 4 years. He had to undo everything that was being done in the last 8 years. Actually, prior to that, there were other things being done. But let's just talk about the 8 years. Trump had to remove all of this. Trump had to strip all this away, remove the blocks. And he's done this at a lightning pace as they've been attacking him with impeachment, with the Mueller report, with the mainstream media, with everything they can throw at him. He had to go ahead and undo everything Obama and others have been doing for many, many years. And he's done this at a lightning pace. And we're almost there. Because it wouldn't have worked out if he just went in and arrested everyone. The federal judges weren't in place. They would have just said, you have no case. The FBI, they would have said, there's nothing here. The investigators wouldn't have investigated anything. Yes, Trump might have had the military, but nothing would have happened. Because he only had a certain select few. They had to change everything. And if the 16-year plan was taking 16 years, and the first part of it was to place all these individuals into place, Trump had 4 years to remove all of that while battling them. But I think everything is pretty much in place now. I think they're just waiting for the right moment when they know it's time. Remember, it's on their timetable. They're going to make the decisions of when they're going to use it. And I believe they understand the playbook of the deep state, and they know exactly the right moment to use the Trump card.